All right, hey, what's up, everybody? Mike Lindsley back with you for another 9 minutes with me on IGTV, Facebook, and YouTube. Apparently, I have company. You can hit me on Twitter at Mike L Sports, and of course, all over the major platforms where you get your podcast. Make sure you download and subscribe to the ML Sports Platter. Download, subscribe, leave feedback, and a 5-star review. That stuff helps a ton. And of course, it's also available on Stitcher, Deezer, the Podbean app, YouTube, and Tumblr. This is 9 minutes with me. We're going to spend a little bit of time on Kobe Bryant's career, more and why I regret not being a diehard NBA fan during his prime. But before we do that, I wanted to tell you folks about Empower Federal Credit Union. Great place to place your money. Log on to empowerfcu.com today. Find your peace of mind with Empower Federal Credit Union. We're also brought to you by Bryant Stratton College, Hides of Liverpool, and our great friends at Sit Means Sit Syracuse. If you have a dog, any breed, any behavior, bring them to Sit Means Sit Syracuse. If you're in and around Central New York, they will help train your dog to the point where you don't even need a leash. And the ultimate goal, of course, is a better life for your pup, most importantly, and for you, and of course, a little bit more control in terms of your daily life with that awesome dog. So make sure you go to Sit Means Sit Syracuse. David and his team are tremendous. I've been there multiple times. I've watched him in action. I've had several meetings with David. He's really educated me about his programs and his classes, and of course, he came on my podcast last week. All right, let's get into a little bit in terms of Kobe Bryant. You know, it's crazy, right? Like Sunday was the day when you found out. It was disbelief. You still kind of couldn't believe it overnight. Monday was still a disbelief, but more of a celebration of his life. And Dan Patrick was one of the few on radio who said, you know, look, this is the way I grieve. I have to move on. I'm sad about the situation, but I want to celebrate the guy's life, the incredible career that he had, the amazing influence that he had on his kids, the amazing growth of the women's basketball product, the Mamba Academy, all the things that he did globally, the amazing, amazing things that he did for a long time around the world. And, you know, for me, as the tributes kept coming, the more and more interviews that I heard with, you know, guys who knew him very well, like Michael Wilbon in the media, the Ramona Shelburns of the world, Adrian Wojnarowski, you know, who I've had on my podcast many times, who of course is a St. Bonnie grad. You know, a lot of former players. There was question whether the NBA should have played games on Sunday. Again, not sure when the first one tipped off that day, but should Adam Silver had just, you know, should he have just pulled the plug no matter what? Should they have pulled people off the court? Should they have just told people when they got off of aircrafts, look, you're done, or off of buses or wherever, you're not playing today? And a lot of teams I know fly in the day before or fly in overnight, whatever the case may be, but we're not playing no matter what in honor of Kobe. And then I heard Michael Wilbon say, no, there's no better place to honor Kobe Bryant than NBA arenas. And that really pulled me 50-50. I was 100% in pull them all, don't play, take 2, 3, 4 days off for this thing, let Los Angeles do its thing. I know that they pulled the plug tonight of the Clippers-Lakers game. That's the way they need to handle it. That's the way they need to grieve. I'm fine with it. All the other arenas, all the other games, it looks like are going to, you know, be open for business. But you know, I thought about that for a second when Michael Wilbon said that. And then I came full circle 50-50. I don't know what the right answer is anymore. And then you look at the way other people are talking, the way other people grieve, the way they mourn, the way they celebrate, the way they talk about Kobe. And as these games are on television, just replaying Kobe Bryant games. And I heard the interview not too long ago with Dan Patrick and Kobe Bryant that Dan had re-aired. And you know, many of you know from just listening to me over the years that, you know, if I've been asked, like, who's your idol in the media? And my answer is Dan Patrick. I mean, the guy's just amazing. He's a great communicator. He's tremendous with his interviews. He's a great listener. He asks amazing questions. The content of his show is great. He's funny. He's really the guy in terms of who I would love to be if I had a media idol. And Dan Patrick kind of shed a lot of light on this, and he's been celebrating the life. And so as he celebrates, it makes me think more. Again, him, Michael Wilbon, all these different guys I hear, it makes me think about Kobe's career and how I wish I didn't go away from the NBA. And this isn't the first time that I've said this, but I'm shedding new light to it and expanding on it because Kobe Bryant died a couple days ago in that awful helicopter crash. And, you know, I was a big Michael Jordan fan growing up. I'm 40 years old. And if you go back 40 years to 1979, you know, the last 40 years and change of basketball, you look at Michael, Magic, Larry, Kobe, and LeBron. Those are the 5 guys. You know, and you could argue any of those guys, you know, being the greatest basketball player of all time in your own way. Most people would try to argue Kobe, Michael, and LeBron. I would argue even Magic. Four of those guys are on my all-time team. I mean, I have, or three of those guys, I should say. I have Magic at point, Michael at two, LeBron at the three, and then I've got, of course, Tim Duncan at the four. You go by position, and then center is Bill Russell. But Kobe Bryant and these guys are on the next thing. I don't have Kobe on the main Mount Rushmore, but he's on the second Mount Rushmore for me. I've got Michael and Steph and Bill Russell, on the first one, and Magic Johnson. But the last 40 years of basketball, like Kobe Bryant was as big as anybody. He was a global icon. He was so amazing. And during his prime, I wasn't a diehard NBA fan. And I'll be the first to admit, I was a diehard Michael Jordan fan. I was one of those people who was entrenched in, we're never going to see Michael Jordan again, ever, ever, ever. It doesn't matter what you tell me. It doesn't matter how many NBA games you put on. And frankly, I still feel that way. I still feel Michael Jordan's the GOAT. I know there's a lot of people out there who are arguing LeBron and all the finals and you measure up against and all that, but I still have Jordan number one, and I always will. Kobe Bryant, though, was the closest thing to Michael Jordan. And I think when people are trying to compare Michael and LeBron, really the comparison, with no disrespect to King James, and again, he's on my first team ever, the closer comparison is Kobe and Michael, because Kobe modeled his game after Michael Jordan. But now that I look at it, I was such a Jordan fan. Why didn't I stick with this? Why didn't I go on and just keep watching the NBA? I just felt like there was a little bit of, the product that was sliding. There were more, I think, one-and-done guys who were going in the league who shouldn't have even been a one-and-done. This was later now after the fact, of course, when they changed the rule because guys started coming out and skipping college, which I think they should change the rule back. If you want to go pro, you should be able to go pro at 18, make your own decisions. Oh, by the way, that was pioneered big time by Kobe Bryant. But I don't know why I went away. I don't know what the heck happened to me. And now I look today at sports, and look, the NBA, I don't love the NBA as much as the NHL. I don't love it as much as Major League Baseball. I don't love it as much as, college basketball, college football, golf. There's a million things that I like more than I do the NBA, but I will watch the playoffs. I will watch superstar games. I will follow the games and at least look at box scores and who scored where and who did what. And, if there's a huge performance or something flashes across the bottom line, I'll go to the NBA game to check out if somebody's going to score 60 or 70 or, I don't know, 81 like Kobe did, which I did do that night. I don't know. I just look at it now and I look back at the prime of Shaq and Kobe playing together. And I did on occasion. I saw a couple games. I would, I'd follow a little bit, from afar. I'd flip on a couple here and there during the playoffs. I would flip on the finals on occasion with a buddy and catch it. But I by no means was the daily NBA guy, the daily NBA obsessor like I was during the Michael Jordan era. I mean, when I was a kid, I would flip on the NBA all the time. I didn't have cable television when I was younger, but the Sunday games were one of the great days of the week for me. It was probably the great day where you have 12:30, 3:30ish, and 5:30ish, or noon 3 and 5:30, whatever the times were. You'd have an early game maybe between the Pistons and Celtics, and you have the Bulls, and you have maybe the Utah Jazz and the Blazers or something like that. You think about that now, and you had Michael Jordan playing, you had Karl Malone and John Stockton playing, you had Clyde Drexler playing. Just Larry Bird playing, so those were the days for me. Maybe it was the Lakers at night, but when Michael retired and it ended in a Washington uniform, I kind of had a sour taste in my mouth. I didn't think that the product was as good. I was in college at the time. I was following, different things. I was far more entrenched into college basketball as I had been for years. But I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that anybody else could become Michael Jordan. And I regret it. I regret not being a diehard NBA fan day to day. I regret it because there was so much going on. Tim Duncan and the Spurs dynasty and Pop and Ginobili and those guys. And, with the Lakers and Shaq and Kobe winning 3 in a row, and the dominance and a lot of other things that were going on in the NBA. The early years of LeBron, the early years of Carmelo, and still Allen Iverson playing at a high level. But when I look back at all of that, and now the last couple of days I've seen a lot of the highlights with Kobe and the games and all the rest and the old interviews and the ridiculousness, the greatness, the unbelievable work ethic, the domination, 5 rings of Kobe Bryant. I regret not being the diehard NBA fan post-Michael, for the sole reason, not just for everything else, but number one, because of the greatness of Kobe Bryant.